Hey everyone, welcome to another macro photography video. Today I'm out in the winter forest and I've got quite a fun setup with me to test, which is the System OM1 and 90mm f3.5 macro lens. This setup is really popular for macro photography and a lot of great macro photographers that I know use this setup, but I've never actually tested it myself. So System Germany have kindly sent it out to me to test, and I've got it with me today along with the Godox V860 flash and the excellent Cygnus Tech diffuser, and I'm just going to see what I can do with this setup. So it is quite a grey and wet winter day here. It rained a whole lot overnight, and in other seasons this might not be the best weather or the best conditions for macro photography. But what it means in winter is that a lot of the animals that would normally be further down in the soil, like springtails, come up to the surface and are active on the surface, where it's quite wet. For example, this log here, which is right out in the open in the middle of a path, is absolutely covered in globular springtails. And since they're mostly not in great spots for photos, or they're quite active, I'm going to try and get a little video sequence of these. I've got the camera on a mini tripod just to help me keep it stable handheld, and my little LED panel for some extra lighting. And if I just turn this on, I can get reasonably stable high magnification macro video. Now, springtails on the plain wood surface of a log might not be that interesting for photos, but what definitely is springtails in the moss, because it creates this effect of the springtail kind of exploring the tiny world of the moss, and I've gotten some of my favorite springtail photos like this. Now, springtails usually don't actually tend to be in moss, even on a log like this one. Most of the springtails I can see are in the areas of exposed wood. But I'm just going to have a look around here, get the camera ready, and see what I can find. So I think I've spotted one in a good spot here in the moss, and I've found an angle where the moss in the foreground creates a nice frame around it. Now I am of course shooting in focus bracketing mode, which means the camera is adjusting focus for me, and I'm just going to get a picture like this. So as usual at this time of year, one of the main ways that I look for insects and spiders and other small animals to photograph is looking underneath dead wood, underneath bark. So for example, this log here, just carefully rolling it back. Right away there I've spotted some really crazy looking orange fungi, and generally just some rather crazy fluffy fungus, mycelia and all kinds of things. And hopefully there are a few springtails or other little animals under here as well. Let's see what I can find. I ended up just getting a focus stack of the textures of the fungus itself, and also spotted this really cool looking demade mite on the fuzzy fungus texture, and got a photo of that as well. The fungi on the underside of this log had a really beautiful velvety brown texture to them. And after looking for a while I spotted a globular springtail which I was able to photograph, and I really like the darker atmosphere of this image. This log here has got some really interesting looking textures on it, some tiny little beige colored fungi and a few other slime molds and things. So I'm going to try and get a few focus stacks of these here. And as always, it's important to remember to put the log or bark or whatever it is that you've moved to get a picture back exactly the way you found it. So here on this mossy tree stump, I've spotted something really, really cool, which is a little spider, a little sheet web spider of some sort, that has made its web right at the tip of a couple of moss spore capsules. And I think this is a really, really interesting, cool scene, and I'm just going to see how I can photograph this one. I'm going to start with just a low angle and get a focus stack of that before maybe trying something a bit more creative. So I think what will really make this scene stand out is backlighting, so that the spider is a bit of a silhouette with the hairs standing out, and hopefully the moss spore capsule would even glow a little bit. Luckily I've got my flash remote trigger in my backpack, and I've got the flash off camera now, and I'm just going to place it just behind the spore capsule. So the spore capsule with the spider on it is right here, and I'm just placing the flash behind it, roughly like this. I think that should work. I can always shuffle it around if the angle isn't quite right. Now I'm just going to frame this up. I'm starting off just shooting single shots because I don't know exactly how the lighting effect will work, and maybe I'll do a focus stack if I get a good angle. This looks pretty good, and I'll just get a couple of test images. So I think that's all I've got time for today. I really enjoyed using this camera setup, and I'll be back again in a couple of days to continue filming this video and talk a little bit more about the equipment. So I'm back in the woods again with the OM system kit. It's been a week since I filmed the first part of this video, and I just wanted to see if I could get a couple of more photos and maybe talk about my experience using the equipment a little bit more. And while I was setting up for this shot, I noticed a small mushroom on the ground here, and there's a few globular springtails on the gills of this mushroom. I know globular springtails have become a bit of a theme this video, but I just wanted to try and get a photo of these since it makes for a really interesting backdrop. Since the springtails were moving around a bit much for a focus stack and the top-down diffuser lighting wouldn't have suited this scene that well anyway, I decided to experiment a bit with off-camera flash, and my favorite shot ended up being this one with the flash fired through the top of the mushroom. So how is this setup actually to use? Well, overall I think it's really good. I don't love the ergonomics and handling of the OM1 Mark II, but I think that's more of a thing of my own experience, and otherwise I think this camera setup is really well suited to this type of high magnification macro photography. The 90mm macro lens is quite sharp, and the fact that it has autofocus at such high magnifications allows for the use of focus bracketing, where the camera automatically shifts focus between your images while taking a focus stack. However, the thing that has had the biggest impact on my shooting when using this camera, and this is somewhat surprising personally, is actually the image stabilization. This is something I'd never really considered. I hadn't thought about the fact that image stabilization would really have that much of an impact when shooting macro, but the stabilization on the 90mm lens in combination with the OM1 Mark II is really great, and just means that even when you're shooting at 1:1 or 2:1 magnification, it just gives an extra little bit of stability and confidence in the fact that my focus stacks and my images will be stable. So underneath this log right here, I've found something quite cool, which is two individuals of a species of harvestman, which I believe to be in the genus Trogulus. And this is, granted, not the most photogenic looking species, but it is one that I've not seen very often and quite a unique looking harvestman species. So I would like to get a couple of images of these just to document them. And in this case, I'm just going to go fairly close and get a focus stack to get a bit of a textural shot, I think, of these, but I'll see what I can get. There's another thing underneath this log that I think will make for a very interesting photo, which is a woodlouse spider inside a silk cocoon. And I think that this shot would be better suited to not just standard on-camera flash and diffuser lighting, but I'm just gonna get a focus stack like this, just in case the spider moves while I'm switching lighting setups. So I really like the look of this backlit spider image, and overall I've really had fun experimenting with this equipment from OM System. And I would like to give a quick shout out to Brendan from the Cygnus Tech diffuser. Brendan has supported me for a very long time, and when I mentioned that I was going to be testing out the OM System equipment, he was kind enough to send over a new diffuser for me right away, specially designed for use with this setup. So thank you very much for the support, Brendan, and if you would like to order the Cygnus Tech diffuser, there's a link in the description where you can order one. Otherwise, I do still have this equipment on loan from OM System for a little while, so I will be making a couple more videos. And if you have any questions or particular features of this equipment that you would like me to mention in a future video, please let me know and I will see what I can do to cover those. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.